Hello, this is my day 29th of recording myself for the 100 days challenge. And just like every video, in the starting, I want to convey the same message that this is for me and has very less to zero relevance to anyone who might have encountered this for any reason. For last 30 days, I've been recording the random impromptu topics and now I felt that I have started getting the clarity on how should I go ahead and what content I take with me on this channel and make it a primary content. And the idea which is in some way very close to me, the idea of spectism, idea of doubt, idea of curiosity. So I want to keep this channel for discussing the philosophical topics, philosophies, different philosophies, their beliefs, their assumptions, their conclusions, and of course their contradictions and contrast with other philosophies. All these things will be discussed in coming videos, and I am also working as reading about these philosophies, these common terminologies, and upgrading myself to the level where I could flawlessly communicate these ideas. So it may happen that you might see something which is not correct but being communicated to you, and I want to send my apologies in advance for that. And I'll try to ensure one thing: whatever I take the time to prepare the content, I prepare it and deliver it with full responsibility, full awareness. Any mistake, I'll I'll not let any mistake to come in my way. And when I say mistake, I mean to not consciously and mistake, to not consciously make any mistake just to fill any gap. I don't want to do that, and I'll not do it. So today's video, I kept it for discussing the philosophical terms. I believes I believe anything to be read, anything to be taught, you first want to understand its real terminologies by which this whole subject makes it base, and understand these philosophical, understand these all terms first in order to reach to a real truth through these terms. Unless you don't know these terms, you will always in you will always be in confusion about the scope of an object, idea, or thought this word targeting to, and you will always be in a doubt to make any judgment, because the judgment is coming from the standard which is in its confusing state. Do not keep any confusions on the terms. So in philosophy, we hear a lot of times the word argument. It may look like an obvious word, it may look like an obvious understanding, it may seem like an overhead, it may seem like an over practicing on these terms. But believe me, guys, if you were to describe, if you were to define argument, it will be as difficult as for you as to define a complex term. Reason being because you are aware about the emotions, the feelings, the state, the process which in which you use this word. So, but you have consciously, you never tried to grasp its meaning. You always have been using it, and it may because of the overuse of this word might have given you the impression that you do not need to understand it because you knew it already, but that is not correct. Because every word carries a weight, carries a scope, carries a boundary, a responsibility, and an a hidden obligation that it's put onto the subject when it is used to describe subject. And if you are not being serious, not putting effort in first doing the judgment of using it or not using it, you might end up communicating the wrong meaning altogether. So it's important, and considering the importance, I have thought to first go through the terms and only then move to the real core ideas, real core beliefs of philosophies, what it is, what are its branches, what these branches talks about. These things can be talked later, because the very ways I'm going to use to explain these things is these terms only. I'll put everything on these terms. I'll give each and every responsibility on these terms. And when you, while you will be listening to these sessions, I would request you to not blindly listen or follow to this, but try to explain to you what you understood, and does that understanding does that understanding really true, or it just of some narration done by me presenting the facts wrongly made you believe in certain thing. I don't want you to get end up into that cycle. So be conscious, be aware of what I say. And because I said already that I am not good, I'm not very good with these terms right now myself. So I would also go and search on Google. You could go and search it too if you want to understand how you can make a search and what exactly you will look. I can give you a way. I have been using it for months now, and it brought me the results I never saw before. It's the most effective and the most fast way to get the understanding of anything, and which is to first categorize anything you see into some broader category, and then try to see what in that category makes what that is spatial quality that makes that thing special in that category. When you have the understanding of these two aspects of anything, you can say you understood the topic. You can then talk about that topic, and that's a very famous method to genus or differentia. Genus is the broader category where anything fall into, and differentia is that spatial quality, that spatial element that makes that thing special in that category. So argument, while looking at it, it seems like it's some activity, it's some process. So the genus for this must be some activity, must be some process. Now, what does make any activity, any process to be eligible, to be qualified, to be called as argument? See, argument has some purpose. Any process, any activity where the lot of sound involves, where the lot of talk involves, that could be debate, that could be a discussion, that could be explaining. But the thing that makes the act of speaking spatial is what associated differentia to this argument word, and which is when this act is done with reason, logics, with an intention of countering Proposing an opposite view is what we called as an argument. So it's an act of speaking. It's an act of where a lot of sounds involved, which has an intention to present a counter, to present an opposing view for any idea, thought, or anything. It's important in philosophy because it's the base, it's the stair, it's the unit of that stair that no matter how far you have reached, still have to use it because stairs, if given as the only way to reach to somewhere, then argument is the unit of stairs and you cannot avoid it. The more stronger you have this unit, the more possibility of this stair to keeping you up and letting you climb onto it and will help you taking to your final destination. And the more fragile, the more easy and the more loosely it is aligned with the other stairs, other units, it's easy for the opposing power to make you fall. It's a it's easy for the friction to let go of your hard works, to let go of your intentions. It doesn't care about your intention, it doesn't care about your feeling. The only thing it cares is if you carrying the strong adhesive unit of that stairs which can take up your weight and can adhesively stick to the other stairs. If it's ensuring two things, you are good to give, you are good to take its help. So argument is very important and how you can build the argument, what steps one should follow to master it. We will discuss it we as we go into this more deep, but this is a very important thing. And this also has two elements which are important, which can shift the understanding, and those two are premise and conclusion. Premise, it's an statement or the proposition that an argument uses to support its claim, its conclusion. And the conclusion is the final outcome, the final claim that an argument trying to make. So your focus would be on the premise, your focus would be on this proposition, the statement. That's what in that's what that you have in your hand. And you can work on these two elements to master the argument. The other very important thing in philosophy is deduction and deductive reasoning. I am trying to search it on Google. See, deduction, we all know it's again an activity, it's again an act which is done with an intention of coming on a conclusion of something from the vaguely presented idea, thought, or anything. If we applied a valid critical reasoning onto it, then a thinking onto it, then the possibility of deducting something from it increase. So that's deduction in my view. But let's see from the philosophy what does it mean. The definition says a type of reasoning where if the premise are true, the conclusion must true. All men are mortals. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is a mortal. See, deductive reasoning. Okay, so this is a reasoning that, as by their definition, it says that if the premise is true, then no matter what other elements, other things talks about the argument, the claim, but if you are able to prove the premise as true, you can make another statement of proving the argument by supporting it from the premise. That's the deductive reasoning. If some part, no, yeah, but if you are, yes, okay. The other thing is inductive reasoning, a type of reasoning where the premise provides strong support for the conclusion, okay, but do not guarantee its truth. The conclusion is probable, not certain. Every swan I've seen is white, therefore all swans are white. So the only difference in deductive or inductive, its ability to cover the degree that deductive covers. No, the only difference between inductive reasoning and the deductive is the degree or the ability of the premise to cover the use cases, and then the degree of correctness of result. In deductive, you have the premise strong enough can support the claim, can influence the claim to 100%. There's no doubt left after a premise being presented, a strong premise being presented. While in the inductive, some part, some information to some degree premise is giving the information. However, when it comes to really concluding something, premise is not covering cases good enough that it can be taken directly into proving something. It can be the parameter, it can be one of those parameters in proving something, but it can alone doesn't guarantee anything. No, the other thing is Priory. Priory is word I have heard. Priory word. This word I heard it for the first time. It's a knowledge or justification that is independent of experience, mathematical truths or definition. The genus for it coming out the knowledge or justification. It's the knowledge or justification which is independent of experience. If I say 2 plus 2 is 4, then it's true no matter whether I accept it, no matter whether have done the calculation by myself. But if a mathematical formula says something and guarantees its applicability on every constant, then you don't have to check really to see and to prove it. It's true. That's priori, a posteriori knowledge or justification that is dependent on experience or empirical evidence. Yeah, that's opposite of priori, that where the knowledge, it's a knowledge or experience. That is also a knowledge or experience, but the differentiator that makes it unique or special or different from the priori is its incapability of not being able to